Welcome, everybody, to Come Back to Love Radio. This is Robyn Vogel, and we are on Dream Vision 7. Welcome to new listeners. Welcome to those that listen in every week. We're here live on Thursdays at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the show where we explore journeys of healing, connection, and transformation in love and relationships. I'm your host, Robyn Vogel. I'm a love and intimacy coach and the creator of Heal Your Heart. Join me as I share stories, tools, and insights to help you rewrite your love story, whether it's about overcoming heartbreak, unraveling old patterns, or reigniting the spark in your current relationship. Together, we'll explore how love begins within and expands outward to create meaningful, fulfilling connections with yourself and others. You can tune in to Come Back to Love anywhere. You can listen online, on your mobile device, on the radio in your car while you're going for a walk, or simply ask Alexa to play Dream Vision's 7 radio station. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by two special guests, two dear friends, two special guests, Mandy Barr and Deanna Coyle. And they are here from Vesta Divorce, which we will hear a lot about, and how this organization that they have been working with, co-creating, creating for many years contributes and continues to contribute to people coming back to love during a time that is pretty tricky and intense to come back to love, speaking from my own experience and the experience of many of my clients. And so if you want to read their bios, and I'm sure you will, please go to the Dream Visions 7 Radio Network station page. You can click on Come Back to Love. You'll get all the information about them and the many episodes that are there. But also, I, of course, will have you introduce yourselves. So who would like to begin? How about Deanna, since you were the founder, one of the founding members of Vesta Divorce?
Yes, certainly. And thank you, Robyn. It's so nice to be here, to see you, and to be on your show. And hello to all of your wonderful listeners. I'm Deanna Coyle. I am one of the founders of Vesta, and I love, what your show's all about and all the work that you do in transforming and taking challenging times, turning them into opportunities to have love in our life and whatever it is that lights us up. I went through a very challenging divorce that was finalized around 14 years ago and made a lot of mistakes and went through it was unfortunately very long and expensive. I had young children at the time. I had given up my career to be a stay-at-home mom and had no idea where to turn. So I started putting these programs together along with our mutual friends, Bob and Samantha Vona, and we've helped over 10,000 people, and I personally have spoken to thousands of people who are thinking about or going through divorce. And it's been the most rewarding thing I've ever done to be able to take something that was such a challenging time, but that actually brought me to a great place because I found the strength inside that I never knew I had or never knew how to access really until I had to. And now I'm living a wonderful life and working with my best friend of 14 years. I think it's been Mandy. So lucky that I get to work with someone who is so wonderful and shares my vision of really guiding people to a better place in their life.
Oh, thank you, Deanna.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Mandy, would you like to introduce yourself besides
Yes.
Deanna's best friend?
Hi, thank you for having us. My name is Mandy Barr, and yes, I have the good fortune of working alongside Deanna. I have been actively part of Vesta for 5.5 years, and but what many don't know is that Deanna and I were together 13 and a half years ago when Vesta was kind of coming into being. We were all working together at a financial group with Sam and Bob. And I was part of this idea, and I got to see it come to life and got to attend some of the early programming. And it's really been amazing to be able to come back to the work and really, help to, build and create and help educate and empower people that are going through this difficult time. Prior to Vesta, I was in contract food service for 25 years and have always had a heart to serve, but now I'm serving in a deeper, more meaningful way, which means a lot. And I too went through my own divorce 17 years ago. Um, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I want to help others avoid some of the mistakes that I made when I went through my process.
Wow. It's interesting to be in a room, quote unquote, this room we're in together with two of you that also got divorced a long time ago. Because for me, it was 20 years ago,
Oh, wow.
almost to the date, like just about a month around now, and we're in April 2025 when we're recording.
Mm,
Mm. And, a lot of times I'll meet people who are recently divorced, but not
Mm.
um, having been divorced for this many years. So anyway, I'm just feeling like I'm in good company, um, and company of women that understand. So before we move forward, I would love to hear from either of you, just like a little more about Vesta, so that the people that are listening have context for what we're talking about. I mean, obviously, it's about supporting people going through divorce, but I just maybe a little more information I think would be great.
Yeah, so Vesta, a new vision for divorce, has been around, as Mandy mentioned, we're reaching our 13th year. So we're saying Vesta's turning a teenager.
Oh, wow.
And what we do is it's pretty much like one place where somebody could come and get everything that they need from people who care, right? So the pillars are educate, connect, and empower. And then we provide, we have professionals like you, Robyn, amazing professionals who really understand what it's like to be experiencing or be affected by divorce and who really care and really want to help people get to a better place, just as Mandy and I do. So we have legal professionals, and really like amazing, legal professionals who really look to help people get through it in the best way possible, the smoothest and least expensive way, with court being a last resort.
Mm.
Mediators who are awesome. And then we have financial professionals, of course, certified divorce financial analysts who can look at somebody's finances and help them figure out what's the best way to move forward to split assets, taking, support payments into account and looking at different options and being able to give more certainty to people over, the financial decisions that they're making during their divorce. And of course, coaches. So you're with us as a love and intimacy coach, and we have relationship coaches, divorce coaches, parent coaches, career coaches, pretty much anything that and therapists, of course. Um, and we also have realtors, mortgage professionals who specialize in divorce situations,
Mm.
health and wellness coaches. And what we say is pretty much anything that someone could need if they're thinking about or going through divorce or post-divorce. We have people come to us who are already divorced. And we have resources available for all of those situations. Anything that I've left out, Mandy?
Yeah, and we put together educational
Ah,
programs on
right.
a
Very important.
on a monthly basis. On average, we have between 13 and 16 events a month. Um,
Yes.
yeah, in Massachusetts, California, New York, Illinois, and we're going to be launching a couple of new locations that we're super excited about. And, it's really a place where people can, one, get information about the divorce process, but two, it's kind of like a soft way to meet the professionals and to
Mm.
learn who they might identify with. And, we encourage people to attend events, as many as they would like or as often as they would like, so that they really can have a solid foundation because so many decisions have to be made when you're going through the divorce process. And many of us make them from this emotional place rather than a place of empowerment and knowledge. Um, so, yeah.
That's so great. I know a lot of people, and myself included, will say, I wish that Vesta was around.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and along the lines of the webinars, which are so important, and people say they learn something new, every time they attend. We have video on demand that people can watch at any time. Those links are on our website. And then, of course, the concierge service, which Mandy and I are really passionate about. And that's another thing that makes Vestas so unique is that we in the concierge, we do it full time. So it's not like we have other services or that we're financial professionals ourselves or attorneys
Mm.
and looking to sell our services. So we're coming from a really unbiased point of view. And we've all been through divorce. So we have some wonderful women that work with us who so we, yeah, give people guidance along the
Yeah.
way.
So people can just call and ask questions and get
Yes,
support around finding support,
Yes. Yeah.
even if
It,
yes,
it's just thinking
they
about divorce.
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we have people that will find us just by doing a Google search. Deanna and I will joke how like don't Google your divorce unless Google brings you to Vesta. Which is happening more and more, which is super exciting that people are finding us just by doing a Google search. Um, and we'll help put together a personalized roadmap for individuals, and usually that includes attending these sessions, meeting with the professionals. You know,
Yeah. Wow. So I want to loop in the come back to
yeah,
life theme
yeah.
yes.
because it's so I'm thinking about myself 20
Mm,
years ago,
mhm,
21 or 22 years ago,
yeah,
and how disempowered I felt and the way
right.
that I dealt with that. I don't know if it was the same for the two of you, but the way that I dealt with that was that I just decided that I would trust like whoever we chose. And we talked about it. I mean, I had a really amicable divorce and I have a great relationship with my ex-husband, so that's like amazing and I'm feel
Mm,
blessed every day, literally every day. Like today even, like several emails and communications that have to do with supporting our now almost adult children. Like
Mhm,
we just really created an amazing situation. So shout out and gratitude for that. And back to, 20, 22 years ago, trying to navigate something completely unfamiliar with
yes.
mm,
emotions like, you know, to the hilt in terms of feeling,
yeah.
for me, I was feeling a huge combination of grief and fear and some excitement and relief and confused. And then as a result of not wanting to like what would be the word? Like I think as a result of not feeling empowered, I'll just go back to that piece.
Mm-hmm.
Just deciding like, okay, we chose this person, like he's good, and we worked with this mediator and later on I did divorce mediation training with some of like the top amazing people in Massachusetts.
Ah,
John, who was like the first mediator like ever in the state,
Oh,
um, John Fisk,
oh
and
yeah.
Diane Newman. And during that 2 weeks of training, I learned so many things that I wished I had learned
Ah, yes.
5 years prior to doing that training. So I feel like it's just such a difficult time, obviously, and people are so confused and have a range of feelings, and it's really hard to make decisions during that time period. And that's the time period where people are saying, make a decision, make a decision, make a
yeah.
decision.
Ah, yeah.
So, yeah, just want to open that up if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah. So many of our coaches say when they're giving their presentations that they always advise clients to not make any major
Mm,
changes or decisions while while they're going through transition. Yet divorce is all about making decisions,
right.
right? And I think that learning how to process your emotions, kind of, one of our coaches says, process your emotional divorce before you get into the legal and financial part of your divorce, because that'll allow you, more clarity to be able to make these big decisions about your future. And not that the emotions aren't going to come up as you get into the legal parts or the financial parts, but you maybe would have tools that you might not have otherwise had if you work
Right.
with a coach and learn how to, process them.
I love that line, process your emotional divorce before processing your actual, like,
Yeah.
logistical divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I should give a shout out to Tanya Lickletter. That's
Yes,
her line.
that's a great line, Tanya. Thank you.
You can't take credit for it.
No, wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. Anything you want to add to that piece, Deanna, about, yeah.
It just reminds me of, the reason we're so passionate about the work we do, because with the thousands of people that we've helped, we also have thousands of like testimonials and words of thanks from people. And, when they come to us, they're overwhelmed, confused. They don't know, how to move forward. They don't really see the light at the end of the tunnel or what their life could be on the other side. And so, they say that they feel they say things like, I finally was able to put my head down on my pillow, like head down on my pillow, or finally able to get a good night's sleep, or I
Mm,
finally have hope. Or one woman I talked to, I still remember this was in the very beginning, and we're on the phone, and she said, you can't see me right now, but I'm smiling, and this is the first time I've smiled in 2 years. Like, that's the kind of stuff that really, drives us. And so people feel empowered, and they say things like, I can see myself now on the other side. Like, one of the questions that we get a lot is, are you happy now? They want to see that there's hope and that they can have this life on the other side. And then they also ask, how are your kids doing? And, my kids, unfortunately, had parents who went through a contentious divorce, and they were quite young. And they're in college now and doing really well. And actually, my ex-husband and is flying to our oldest son's graduation, and I'm going to be there, of course. He's graduated from college,
mm,
and he's bringing our younger son, and we'll all be there to celebrate.
mm.
So you can, even when you go through a contentious divorce and not as lucky as you were, Robyn, um, you still can get to a place where you can co-parent well for the sake of your kids.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that, coming back to love through the divorce process
Mhm.
is also learning to forgive yourself for
Mm,
whatever part that you played in, the marriage ending. And we just did an interview with someone who's she calls herself an alchemy coach, and the episode was all about forgiveness. And I
mm.
think that you need that element in order to welcome back love into your life, welcome back the self-love, the self-compassion. Um, yeah.
Yes, that's such a big piece. I'm glad you brought it up because I think when a lot of people come into the divorce process feeling guilty about something
Mm,
or ashamed about something that they
yeah.
did or
Right,
didn't do. And
right.
and right, and then as a result of that, they make decisions, financial decisions, housing decisions, child support decisions, child, co-parenting decisions, all kinds of decisions from a place of fear or guilt or shame. And
Mhm.
that's when, of course, state the obvious, we're not necessarily making good decisions
Right.
in place. And I've seen a lot of people and a lot of my clients that I've coached, around this because they're ready to just give it all away if they feel guilty. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let's take a breath and pause, because you can make these decisions that affect you for the rest of your life, honestly, at a time, again, at a time when it's not the best. But yeah, this piece around forgiveness, like what would it take for all of humanity that's contemplating separating to have space to forgive themselves before even like negotiating anything?
Yeah, I think a big part of that too is also obviously forgiving the spouse, right? So we have people who come to us, and this is what, Simone, and she talks openly about it in the episode that, her 20 something year marriage, she found out her husband was having an affair
Mm.
and she forgave him and when worked through it. And they have family gatherings with their adult children. But so many people come to us where they're angry, resentful. And when you're holding on to that anger and, that's going to hold you back from being able to move forward in your life and in just a better, more joyful way. So I think that's it is the people will come to us and you talked about people who are feeling, you know, um, some shame or regret on their own part and willing to just, give things away without really realizing the impact of the decision and what they're going to need on the other side of it. We talk to a lot of people who say, my spouse is so angry, they've told their divorce attorney, if my spouse doesn't agree to everything I'm wanting to end this marriage, then I'd rather spend it all on attorney fees, right? So, how sad is that, right? Where you
Yeah.
get so much anger, resentment that you'd rather just not, not have anything yourself either to spite your ex.
Wow. Oh my gosh, yeah, that is so complicated.
And the kids involved, right?
Yeah,
Whether they're
right.
young or they're adults, like they're still dragged into this
Hmm.
war between the parents. So there are so much better ways to go through divorce and move forward in a better way for the sake of the whole family.
100%. Let's take a commercial break and get back to that really important piece around children. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Come Back to Love Radio. We are here today with Mandy Barr and Deanna Coyle, and we are talking about coming back to love during a divorce process. Is it even possible?
Mm.
And we started before the commercial break to talk about children and how they are, of course, no matter what their age is, impacted by separation and impacted by the energy, whatever the energy is, the feelings, the emotions in the home, they're very much impacted by that. And I know that sometimes that's a hard thing to accept.
Mm.
Um, and I think we need to agree that it's true because
Mm.
they're at the effect of what's happening with the parents. And I don't know about you, I'm sure you've seen it all, way more than I have. But one of the very sad things that I have seen, and it's not, blame, shame, right, wrong, good, bad, it just is. It does happen sometimes where the parents are not, or one parent or the other, are really not considering the children and the impact. Most often because they're so angry themselves,
Right.
right? Then there's like a block to them seeing how the choices they're making, or the things that they say, uh, things they might say out loud that I often will encourage people not to say out loud around children.
Yes.
Times come out, yeah. You were
Yeah.
gonna say
So
something about that.
I'm I'm so passionate about the children, uh, because I'm also a child of divorce. So my parents divorced when I was 5, and actually, and Mandy's heard me say this many times, both sets of my grandparents divorced. And then there I was, never thought, of course, and that's what another thing people say to us, and never thought I'd be here. And who does, right? You don't go into marriage thinking that that's going to happen, and yet it does to about half of marriages. And then there I was, my kids were 4 and 6. And so I was so determined to just, not repeat those patterns. And there are things that people do, like you were mentioning, Robyn, they might say things either to the kids about the other parent, or say things thinking the kids can't hear, and kids are very intuitive. And so kids do tend to, repeat patterns or what, you have to think about what you're modeling for your kids, whether you're staying in a marriage where there's not good communication um, or a happy marriage and what you're modeling for the children. Um, or whether you're going through divorce and it's contentious and that's going to affect the kids. So Mandy and I on our podcast, Tishing on Divorce, we had a guest, Dr. Thomas Jordan, and who wrote a book, Learn to Love, Guide to Healing Your Disappointing Love Life. And he talks about things that you like, what's familiar. It comes from the word family and what's, in your background. And so he realized he was unintentionally finding women who were dependent and also kind of pulled, as his mother was with him. And he didn't even really realize it until he started doing a lot of research and work on himself. So patterns that people learn, you need to do work on yourself to determine what those were, where they come from, and then you can unlearn them and learn new, healthier ways of moving forward to have a healthy, satisfying, relationship, love life.
Such a big topic, of course.
Yes, which so many is like, so our events that are about finding love again and about, intimacy and like those are our most popular events of divorce because that's what people want.
Mm.
Yeah, it's where I spend most of my time.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's such a big important topic. And, it reminds me of, so I just want to restate kind of what you said, which is that often people will choose a partner, especially the first time around,
Mm,
that's very familiar, energetically,
yes.
emotionally, maybe sometimes in appearance also. But basically,
Mm,
we choose what's familiar because we belong and we feel we belong in spaces that are familiar. And our longing for belonging is so strong that
yes.
when somebody shows up that's like, oh, I know that energy and I know how to fit in here. It's
Mm,
very seductive and it brings us to, it sometimes brings us to repeat patterns that are not the best, not healthy, and patterns that are healthy also. Um, so yeah, so that's a really important piece to for all of us to recognize and notice, no matter what direction the relationship has taken or the relationships have taken, to really see and understand that also as like something that's human and positive because it comes from this place of familiarity and wanting to feel belonging, and which is just so normal. And I think a lot of people will blame themselves and shame themselves for that.
Mm.
So I would love to free everybody up of that because it happens. It's part of being human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I think that I would like to offer, the possibility for folks to take a pause in between one relationship ending before getting into another relationship, so that during that pause, during that time where you're with self, you can do some of this work. So you can come back to love, come back to self-love, come back to, the possibility of love, in an intimate way. Or, for me, I spent a year after my divorce and I didn't date. I friend dated because I had to rebuild my social circle. And to me, it was so important to find female friends that had, young children that I could create community with and create a bond with. And I don't know, I'm really glad that I gave myself that gift and to really
yes.
be able to look at myself and what makes me happy, what do I want for this next phase of my life. And I certainly made a lot of mistakes along the way, but they were my mistakes. And I got to know myself, and I don't know, it's one of
Yeah,
the best things I did.
I think that's really important. I'm really glad you dropped that very important piece in because I think it's hard to be with discomfort, and
Mhm.
it can be hard to be with difficult feelings of grief and sadness and anger and blame and shame and regret and guilt and all of those things that are very difficult human feelings, human emotions. And so people can rush into feeling, the elatedness of a crush or, of love or of arousal, and it feels really good, so they want more. And next thing you know,
Yeah.
you're in a relationship and, maybe that doesn't go so well, or maybe it does. But giving yourself that space to really get to know yourself is so vital. And of course, we're not raised to do that, in our culture anyway, in the Western culture, we're raised to, you know, find a partner and have babies. And we're not really raised to develop the parts of ourselves that need to mature inside ourselves emotionally and never mind spiritually.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so I was the opposite side of what Mandy did.
yeah.
And went and started dating too quickly and went from relationship to relationship, until I did the self work that I talked about earlier, and realized that I was searching, for happiness, what so many people do, searching for happiness outside myself. And when I finally worked on myself and was able to find that happiness from within, then I could be the person, um, and look for somebody who could add to my happiness and I could add to theirs, but we're not solely each other's. And also just figure out more about like who I was being that wasn't being a good partner, and what I was looking for that would really be better for me, which was somebody who was not controlling and really let me, be my best self. That.
Yes. I love what you said there about I have this, for me, it's like this visual of uplifting each other,
Mm.
like raising each other up, because that's the most divine human connection. If we could put those words together in the same sentence,
Mm.
lifting each other up. Yeah.
Mm.
And
I
then,
want to,
go ahead.
can I go back to the kids for a second?
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about
Yeah, so when Vesta first came to be, I was already post divorce and but I still had a little guy, right? So Michael was only 2 when
Mhm.
I went through my divorce. And I honestly believe that a lot of my skills, my co-parenting skills, came from attending to Vesta, started doing programs and things. And I would go to events that were about parenting and co-parenting and learning how to communicate and how to be uncomfortable for the sake of Michael. And I think that it really played a significant role into the relationship and the dynamic that we have today,
Mhm.
which is, so healthy. And, we both want the best for one another and are happy that each other is thriving in our new lives.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. One of my children was also 2 years old. And yeah,
Yeah.
uh, it's a journey because they don't, at that age, they don't remember being
No.
in a family unit. I mean, like cognitively remember. Of course, in their body, they remember, but
Yeah, he doesn't have because I've asked him and he said he doesn't have any memory of us as a married couple, which
yeah,
feels like makes me feel a little sad, honestly.
yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
But
Yeah, same with my daughter. She doesn't remember.
yeah.
We're going to take another quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Come back to Love Radio. Today we are talking about divorce, separation, and I hope our listeners, whether they are contemplating divorce, going through a divorce, or post-divorce, have gotten some really good nuggets around self-love, self-compassion, forgiveness, making conscious choices with care and ease, slowing things down, like when it comes to the kids and when it comes to yourself. These are not necessarily easy, but very, very worthwhile in terms of supporting yourself, but also your children, your family, and everyone connected actually to creating ease with a situation that tends to not be, unfortunately, in many situations. We didn't touch on this today, but I'm going to throw it in here at the end. There's this big belief in our culture that divorce is a failure, and it
Mm.
just has all this negative, like, oh, I got divorced, and oh, I'm getting divorced, and it's very heavy. And it is true that a long time ago, I met somebody, I think my son was maybe like 6 or 7, so it was 20 years ago. But it was before I was getting divorced. But at some point, I met this woman, and somehow we were talking about her family, and she said, "Yeah, I celebrated whatever she said, like a 15-year marriage with, so and so, and it came to completion, and we celebrated the amount of time we had together." She said it something like that.
Hmm.
And now I think then she was, married to a second person at that point. And it just totally shifted my thinking. And so, as we come to the end of our time together today, among other things, I want to drop in that, sometimes the relationship has just done what it has needed to do in your life, on your soul journey, in your world, and it's okay to acknowledge that. And that's like a whole episode in class in and of itself, because I think it takes some work and some paradigm shifting in the brain to get there. But I think most of the time it's actually what's true. And if I feel like if people were able, myself included, to really embrace that, it would be an honoring of a time spent together, and
Hmm.
then a ritual of closure, and a moving on to something else that's supportive, you know.
Hmm. That's
Fortunately,
beautiful.
yeah, it feels so, so true.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think when I think about who I was when I met my son's father and who I am today, I feel like I've lived many lives,
Right. Yeah.
right? And not everyone, just not every friendship evolves, grows as we evolve.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that an intimate relationship is going to survive all of our changes and our
Exactly.
growth.
Exactly. Right.
And
Exactly.
it's amazing when it can happen.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the whole stigma around divorce, although it's changing somewhat, there's still, the divorce is a failure thing. And, to be able to look at it like we shared the time together that we did. And if you have children, it gave us the beautiful children that we have. And it made you into the person who you are today, everything, decisions you've made. And people do, change, evolve, move apart. Sometimes it's when the kids go off to college and then the parents, are facing, wow, we've both changed so much. We don't know. So to really change how you look at it, right? And that
Yeah.
it's not a failure. It's all life experiences that brought us to where we are.
Mm,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
mm.
how can people find you? People that don't know about you yet that are listening, how can they find you?
Yeah, so the easiest way to find us is just to go to our website. So it's vestadivorce.com. And then there'll be links to events, there'll be links to our professionals, including you, Robyn, links to the free videos, and then concierge. Check out the concierge page, and it tells more about what we do. And there's a link. Um, Actually, Mandy and I each have concierge links. We always welcome people to reach out to us. So it's calendly.com/ and then our name. So mine's Deanna Coyle. Mandy, what's yours?
And
Mandy Barr.
yeah, it sounds like
Mandy Barr.
it sounds like you can find that on the concert
Yeah, on the
page. Like
website.
when you go to the
On the
concert
website.
page, yeah, then
Yes.
you can click on a link, schedule a phone call, ask your questions, get your questions answered. And I know you guys are so resourceful, and I send so many people to you
Yeah.
because people just want to know. Like a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do, which I
Mm,
understand.
Right?
So send them to vestadivorce.com for information, for meeting different people, for getting an idea of what's possible, and for really creating, in the best of all situations, creating what will work for you and your family.
Right.
And so for me, that's a big piece of the come back to love piece, that it's a supportive way to support you in a major life transition. So thank you for creating Vesta and continuing to expand and grow. It's been an honor for me to be a part of it,
Oh, well,
that I
we're
have.
honored as well.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for being on Come Back to Love Radio.
Thank you
It
so
was
much,
so much
Robyn.
fun.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thanks to all our listeners, and we'll see you next week, Thursday, 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Mwah! Have a beautiful day, everybody.